I'm Joe Campbell, and we will return to this fascinating program about the brain and how we can make changes that can actually improve our brain's fitness in just a moment. Now, I'm really pleased to be in the studio with Dr. Michael Merzenich, a professor at the University of California at San Francisco. Now, he's one of the scientists that was interviewed in this program. And Dr. Merzenich is also a leader in the international research team of scientists that has created the Brain Fitness Program. Dr. Merzenich, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Joe. It's nice to be here.
Now, so far in the show, basically what I've learned is everything that I thought I knew about the brain was wrong. So it's good to know that getting older means that you don't necessarily have to lose your mental capacity.
Yeah, well, we brain scientists are capable of a little progress once in a while. And actually, I hope the viewers are beginning to see in the program that there are really good reasons to be hopeful. There's a growing understanding in brain science about basically the capacity to change our brains as a function of how we engage them. So we understand increasingly just how to go about that.
Mike, tell me more about the exercises.
Well, they specifically target important aspects of loss in the mature brain. And the goal is actually to drive the brain from whatever its state is in a more youthful direction so that it's operating more like a brain that's younger and operating with higher competencies.
I don't get garbled words anymore. If someone is talking directly to me, I can hear them. And I know that that came from the brain stimulation program because it's been very gradual but very pronounced, and it's just like a gift of hearing being given back to me.
As we age, our brains, as our bodies, aren't quite what they used to be. Much like working to maintain our figure, we must also work to retain our mental acuity. And if we don't, the brain's reliability, agility, and flexibility gradually decline. Then the ability to execute simple tasks or recall information can become a struggle. The typical 30-year-old has command of the use of about 30,000 words. The typical 80-year-old uses about 10,000. It's a fact of modern life that the mature adult has an almost 50-50 chance of ending life non compos mentis. But with brain plasticity, we can change these odds. We can strengthen our brains well past the critical period and even regain some of what we may have lost. But to understand how the brain can change, we must first understand how it ages.
It's not so different from the rest of the body. I used to be a 6-foot, 240-pound linebacker. No, seriously. We lose muscle mass as we age. It's just the natural order of aging. And in the same way, the brain loses mass as well. Parts of the brain begin to degenerate as part of normal aging. If you look at the brain through an MRI scan, for example, you'll see the widening of the sulci, the valleys between the various ridges on the surface of the brain. These widen and fill up with fluid. It's just representing a loss of tissue. The ventricles, spaces that are filled with fluid in the center of the brain, they get larger. So the amount of tissue, brain tissue, is reduced over time.
Everybody has recognized from time immemorial that as we get older, our brains decline a little bit. We don't function as well as we did with memory and just sort of with quickness of processing. And it used to be thought that this had to do with just a global loss of neurons, but nobody has actually been able to account for enough neuron loss to cause the sometimes dramatic decrease in function that people have as they get older. And it turns out that what the thinking is now is that what it actually is a loss in synapses, that some synapses just die off. The connection is lost from one neuron to another. And a loss of myelin, which is this, I like to think of it as like electrical tape. It's made by cells called oligodendrocytes, and it just insulates the long, skinny axon of the neuron and allows each neuron to send its message faster. And if you lose myelin, if you lose a lot of myelin, it can be dramatic and devastating. But if you lose a little bit, it can just sort of subtly damp down your processing, as happens to a lot of us as we get older.
Wrinkles and loss of muscle mass are an obvious sign of aging. But the impact upon our brains is even more startling. Moments of memory loss, loss of balance, even difficulty hearing. It all starts with the brain.
As we get older, the speed with which we think and recall and retrieve things does slow down. And so if you then introduce things that are distractors and intrude your ability to retrieve memories, you can look like you're having a memory problem. So what are some of the things that are distractors? Well, get yourself in a room that's loud, with a lot of people talking, put a few drinks in you, keep it late at night, become anxious. Any of those things definitely in any of us can intrude into our ability to remember.